Okay, so a couple of these knives get liners, and I'll just go ahead and show you kind of how we do this real quick. Basically all I do is try to pick an efficient use of the material so that these guys nest in nicely, and I will leave a fair amount of excess all the way around because I don't want to be trying to line everything up perfectly. But then I'll just take a mechanical pencil, trace around, press down firmly so it's not sliding around, you're not losing your pattern. And then I'll label it O Sim 1. The words will always go next to each other, so it makes it easy to reorient it after you get it cut out. Come down to this guy. Okay, I'm going to go over to the bandsaw, cut these guys out, and then I'll bring them back and show you. Okay, we're back. You can see I left a lot of excess. I don't like trying to line it up, especially when the epoxy's in there. It tends to hydroplane around a little bit. So leave a pretty good amount of excess. We're going to go through and this is just synthetic steel wool. We use this all over the shop all the time. And we're just going to lightly dull up the surface of the inside surface of the micarta. And that just helps out with a little bit of a mechanical bond as the epoxy sets. You don't have to go crazy. The epoxy will stick pretty good even without this. It's just something that helps. Always trying to build that better mousetrap. Once we do that, just take some Windex. Wipe all the dust, any residual oil from the Scotch-Brite pad off of there. Thing looks pretty legit. I like to use the Loctite. It's like 3,500 psi, so they say, but it works pretty good. I like 5 minutes because I'm very impatient. And then we'll take a regular solder brush, and you can see the one I'm going to use for applying the glue has been shortened considerably. And I just take scissors and chop the tip off. It helps me be more accurate with the epoxy as I'm moving it around. Another piece of equipment is going to be our toothpick. And have some clamps at the ready for this this next operation too. We have extra boxes. This is a little shop tip. Extra boxes, beer boxes especially. Those are probably my favorite. We bang them into these little rectangles so that I can do epoxy work, and then you just toss it when you're done. And it helps keep everything nice and clean. Probably good. Equal parts hardener and resin. Clock starts as soon as they touch each other, so you have 5 minutes before it starts setting. Now it's not cured in 5 minutes, it just means that it gets thick and tacky and won't allow you to clamp things tightly anymore. It starts kind of spreading around like, I don't know, it gets pretty gross. So 5 minutes and counting. Make sure you mix it really good. In there. I like to work from the outside of my epoxy pile. It helps me always. I use way too much this go around too. Keeps the stuff in the middle wetter longer, and it helps keep your finger on the pulse as to how much epoxy you still have left in case you need to mix another batch in a hurry. Especially with stacked leather handles where you're working on it for 15-20 minutes, you know. Make sure the whole surface is covered. Clear that. This guy here. 5 minutes is longer than you think. I guess unless you don't know what the hell you're doing, then the clock ticks down pretty quick. When we first started, I had a guy working in the shop with me, and we would set up his phone with a timer, 5 minutes, like we were disarming a bomb or something, like the thing's counting down. That's way too goddamn stressful, I tell you what. Just slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Get it done. You can see now why I like so much excess, because I don't have to think about where it's going on there, it just has to go on. Okay, and we're going to slide our mess to just about the edge of the cardboard, and the cardboard to the edge of the table. Bring my clamp over. You can see how it kind of hydroplanes around on there. That's what I was talking about, that's why I like leaving a lot of excess. Don't clamp it down so tight that you squeeze all the epoxy out from the joining surface. A lot of guys, new makers will do that. They'll throw stuff in vise and squeeze so hard, and what it does, it's squeezes all the epoxy out. You have no bond. So tight, but don't overdo it. Impress them with your knives, not your strength. You want to see a little bead of epoxy kind of ooze out all the way around it. Alright. Now we're going to let that sit. Probably about 10-15 minutes. And we'll trim it up. And I'll bring you guys back in when that happens. Alright, it's been 1 glass of chocolate milk and half a cigarette later. We're going to check to see how they are. I like to leave this here intentionally because I can see the status of the epoxy without having to pick around at the parts, so I can tell that it's pretty dry and it was a good mix. It's flexible, but it's not tacky at all. So I'm happy with that. We're going to pull the clamps. And you can see we have a good joint of epoxy all the way around on both pieces. We're good to go. Now the rest of this, make sure that's in frame, the rest of this flashing that's sticking out here, it doesn't make too big of a difference. It's going to get ground off in a couple operations anyways, but what we are concerned with is this area up here, because the guard has to butt up against that. So it needs to be trimmed pretty truly to the edge of the phenolic. And the way we do that is with a razor knife. And so I'm right-handed, so I'm sorry you guys won't be able to see, but I'm pretty sure you'll understand what I'm doing. I'll just run that knife over the edge. A couple times, and then it'll break almost like anybody who's ever done drywall. Kind of breaks like that after you score it. Still have a little bit of epoxy there, so I'll kind of pair off like that. It's sitting a little proud still, so we'll just lay flat against the phenolic, and you can see it curl off real nicely. And because this particular liner is made of the vulcanized fiber, it's almost like construction paper over the actual liner material itself. It's hard to see. You'll kind of, it has like a little lip right there. So for that, I just take a sanding sponge and it knocks it down. Don't do a whole bunch, you end up with too big of a radius and there'll be a gap. So we'll do the other one. Score it. break it. There you go, that one broke nice. Come in from the other side. And tear it off. Flip it around. All the excess glue. And any unwanted fiber material comes right off. And you have that little paper flashing. Sand it off. Let's find a corresponding knife. Here we go. Nice tight fit. See if we can get that in the light. Looks good. Other side. Nice fit. And so, on to the next step. It's time to drill all these handles and get them ready for epoxy and shaping.